Hello and welcome to Scientifically Speaking. Today's video is a follow-on from my video about Neil deGrasse Tyson and whether or not he can be trusted, or is this part of an agenda, or what is he doing. Now, there's a few things that I forgot to mention on the video because it was got to 16 minutes and that seemed long enough. There's two other things I wanted to mention. Now, in the past, in history, astronomy and astrology have been associated with witchcraft. So in the past, this was you were burned at the stake, whatever, and dealing with astronomy and astrology was frowned upon. Who frowned upon it? The ruling class and the people in charge, which is how they got people to be burnt at the stake. So have a think about this for a minute. If there was a reoccurring disaster every several thousand years, and you were the ruling family, and you were able to hide yourself and protect yourself in a mountain, let's say, when you came out after the disaster, nobody would know what was going on. You would start to rebuild the land with your gold and everything else from your mountain and your army, like the governments are, moving into mountains and digging out mountains. The governments are doing that, and they will be in there with an army to protect themselves. So now you have a cycle of ruling elites who know when asteroids, and as I say this, I say asteroids, and over millennia, this may have evolved into things like planets and Nibiru. As with folklore, things normally get bigger and exaggerated with legend. But what if the burning of all these people who were into astrology and astronomy, mainly astronomy, because that's the looking at planets and things like that, rather than astrology, which is more to do with the zodiac signs, but we're going to come back to that. So we'll start with astronomy. If you know there's a recurring cycle, you can live your life one way, and if you're the ruling class, you can manipulate the general population into not knowing what you know about a reoccurring cycle of planetary destruction. So basically, you kill all the people that are trying to figure out what's going on in the heavens. You pretend they're witches, while you then have a secret society of astronomers and astrologers. So we're still sticking with the astronomers. So you have now that you are keeping it secret that you are an astronomer, and you are going to pass it down through your family line that this reoccurrence happens. So those in ruling power have the resources to check the skies, have things built with public money, so they can check to see when these death, destruction-giving reoccurrences happen. So astronomy is based on knowing the future, which again is frowned upon in the past, and people were burned alive for trying to be prophetic about disasters coming upon the earth, while the ruling class kept it elite and only for those in the know. And then we turn to astrology, which to a lot of people is, it's the Mystic Meg in the paper, and they tell you your horoscope and the influence the planets are going to have on you. Well, it's very strange that in the last 30 odd years, we've learned more and more about electromagnetism and how electromagnetism can change people's thoughts and feelings by the direct effect of the electromagnetic wave, whichever kind it is, will have certain effects upon the brain. So it is not scientifically unsound to say that planets do have an effect. When they talk about the moon, and when it's a full moon, people go crazy and people change into metaphorical werewolves. Things like that from folklore and turned into folklore, so nobody thought that electricity and magnetism had anything to do with the universe. They turned it into gravity fusion, which we have now, due to the electric universe and all the different sciences that are coming out now, we know for a fact that everything is influenced by electricity and magnetism. Electromagnetic waves and electric fields. These can change how people think. It can move matter. So the banning of astrology, let's say, or ridiculing it, is so people don't imagine the universe as a living, breathing, alive thing that's giving off these waves that can actually affect everything from mood to behavior. If you look at Suspicious Observers channels, it'll tell you all about these different effects that the sun has on the human body, the human heart, and the human brain. And if the field that's coming off the sun changes in any major way, it can give you brain aneurysms or a heart attack, because you are directly connected to every thing outside your body. All energy comes from outside. So if you have people thinking that this planetary effect by electromagnetic waves or by, horoscopes, if they can make you think that that's ridiculous, then you would never take it serious that just because there's an approaching body, which is going to miss us, but we'll all be okay, they'll say that this has no effect, no effect on human physiology whatsoever when it does. So both astronomy and astrology were frowned upon in the past and burned at the stake, so we didn't figure out what the elites already knew. We wanted to look at the stars. We wanted to investigate why and how do the planets have influence over our minds and bodies. And then we find out it's to do with energy. And astronomy is to do with predictable things and incidents that occur and reoccur over many, many lifetimes, or one lifetime, or 6,000 years, however many lifetimes that would be. And then finally, we have the supposed devil hand sign, where you do the Spider-Man pose and you pull in your two fingers and extend your pinky finger and your pointing finger, and that's supposedly the sign of the devil. And many times in many different movies, people have been pointed out doing this while they're talking, and people have said, oh, they're in the occult and they're using the hand of power, or whatever the hell it's called. I don't even know what it's called. The evil eye, or, all that kind of stuff. And here we see Tyson slipping it in, because I meant to mention this in the last video, and Tyson does it. So we have a guy using hand signals, and then everything about astronomy and astrology that I just mentioned, if it gets into the hands of people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's have a listen.
There is an asteroid discovered in December 2004 called Apophis, named for the Egyptian god of death and darkness. It was named only after its trajectory was identified to intersect that of Earth. Had that not been the case, we would not have named it Apophis. Could name it like Tiffany or something, or Bambi, something not threatening. This one was headed towards Earth, Apophis. Once you discover an asteroid, you got to wait a little while to get enough of a segment of its orbit to calculate what the full orbit will be, to know if it will come in harm's way.
So here we have Tyson, like they say Hollywood does, when they say Hollywood tells us the future through the movies, so they can turn around with some excuse to God and say, but we didn't do it. We did tell them what was going to happen. We just hid it in a movie and nobody saw it. So this is Tyson pretending like it's not going to happen, throwing in the gang sign of Satan. And is the story true or not? So it's as if he's telling us, yes, it's going to happen, but he says there's only a tiny little chance of it happening, even though he knows it's going to happen. So he's told you what will happen if it gets through this 600-mile keyhole through our atmosphere. It will then definitely kill us all. So he says if, which means it could, which means one of the elite has just told you that by 2029, we're going to see this asteroid whip through the atmosphere, and then it's going to return 7 years later and smash into us. And that would be the end, as they say, for a lot of 90% of the planet. So that's all it comes down to, really. That was the whole point of these last two videos, was to show that metaphorically, categorically, according to conspiracy theorists of using hand signs and telling the truth, I think Tyson displays it with this story of, oh, we told you the truth, we just said if. And the if turned out to be a yes, and when. Thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ. And I just tell you the things I think, and hopefully they've come from God, or they increase your wisdom in some way, or your thinking. Thanks very much. Bye.